Welcome to Micro Center Shows You How. My name is Dave. I'm a technical support associate at a local Micro Center store. It's our job to answer your computer questions, whether they are simple or more complex. This video is part 4 of my PC-101 series designed for new or inexperienced computer users. Today I'll show you how to manage files and file names so that they are more organized and more easily found on your computer. For this subject, I'll deal with how to name and rename files, how to choose useful file names, and how to group files in folders. Computer hard drives are full of hundreds of thousands of files. Many of them are just for the operating system, and others are for running applications. The majority of files you will be dealing with are data files. Those are documents, pictures, and music files that you must name and organize in order to locate them after you've gone to the trouble to save them. It does no good to leave files of all types lying around poorly organized, as in this picture. One of the best things about a computer is that it is a lightning-fast organizer with perfect recall. All we have to do is utilize its organizational power. It will keep track of all our data files, if we take the time to organize in the first place. Windows even helps us to get started by giving us preset folders for our data files. In Windows 7, they're called libraries. These libraries are for the four most common types of files. I'm going to begin by showing you how to name some picture files. Notice how I've created a folder called Albums in the My Pictures library. You may choose any folder you wish, of course, but under the Albums folder, I've created another set of folders called X1 through X8. Now these folders are temporary holding tanks for my pictures that I've taken with the camera and transferred to my computer. In the folder I've named X3, I have a bunch of pictures that still have the serialized names created by the camera. Those names keep them in order, but they are hardly the names I want to keep. I don't know what IMG_0195 is, so I'm going to give them all meaningful names. I'm going to make it easier to name my picture files by looking at thumbnails of those pictures. To do that, I go to the icon in the upper right-hand corner. By the way, this is for Windows 7. If you have Windows Vista or Windows XP, you can do the same thing by clicking on View on the menu bar and change to thumbnails. Once I've expanded the pictures with the slide control from List View to the larger icons, I can view them easily and begin to rename them. The next step in renaming a file is to click on it just once in order to highlight that file in blue. Then click on the current name of the file. You may also simply hit the F2 key and you'll get the same result. You'll notice that the file name itself is now highlighted in darker blue, as in this example. At this point, simply start typing in your new file name and it will replace the old name. Be careful not to erase the JPG file name extension, or else your computer won't know what program to use to view the file later. If you do make a mistake, don't worry. You can always rename a file, even the extension part of it. Now, simply work through your folder of files and rename them one by one. It does take a little time, but it's worth it if you want to be able to find your files easily later on. I've already gone through and renamed all of my files, and here's what the new list looks like. Without even seeing the thumbnail image, I know what each file is, and I can search my computer later for any of these pictures by name. Finally, I will highlight all of the pictures I've just renamed in the temporary folder called X3 and drag them into a more permanent folder called Zoo, which itself is in a folder of pictures I've created for the year 2006. You see the whole folder structure. And by following this method of renaming and placing your files, you should never have to look very long to find those pictures. Now, let's shift gears and talk about naming document files. Documents have their own library folder, but from there, you need to create other folders that will logically contain the various documents that you keep. I've created and saved a lot of documents, thousands of them in fact, over the past 20 years in which I've used computers. So I've developed a folder structure that helps me keep track of them all. To illustrate, I'm going to personally share with you how I keep track of some online journals that I read regularly. In this case, I save weekly journals from the Nicaragua Network hotline. So, under My Documents, I have a folder called Latin America Journals. Under there, I have a folder for the country of Nicaragua. Under that folder, I have a folder for the particular journal, NicaNet, since there is more than one journal that I read. And finally, inside the NicaNet folder, I have folders for every year of publication of this journal since 1986. As you can see, there are dozens of individual text files in this particular folder. And as you can also see, each file name begins with the same label, NicaNet Hotline. This naming is consistent for every file in this folder as well as the other folders of its genre. If I copy or send these files to someone, both I and they will know exactly what it is, simply by its file name, and that's what I intended. Here's where the computer helps us organize further. As you can see, I've named the second half of each file name with the date of its publication. The computer keeps all the files in order based on the entire file name and will order the files even if they differ only in the middle or end of that name. The computer will order them numerically and then alphabetically, from the first character to the last character in the file name. So, choose whatever file names work best for you, but create both folder names and file names that allow your computer to order your files and organize them for you. In summary, you'll benefit greatly by taking the time to organize your files. I believe that file naming is one of the most basic disciplines of computing, so get familiar with one of Windows' most powerful programs, Windows Explorer. Then, plan out your folder structure. Plunge in. You can always rename folders later or create new folders as you go. Next, take time to name your documents pictures, music, and video files. Finally, give them a folder home that makes sense to you. If you do these things, you'll never lose a file. That's it for this time. Thanks for watching. Micro Center shows you how.